no doubt there will be some of you who believe we shouldn't actually be talking at all with the likes of our next guest on the show, and that he shouldn't be given any airtime. It's not something I actually personally agree with. As someone who was involved in broadcasting during the Section 31 ban a couple of decades ago, everyone should have their say, just as Porrick had his say on the show yesterday. You might remember when he felt that the medical treatment given to the hunger striker at Globe House in Sligo should not have been as immediate as it was. He claimed his own sister had died from an asthma attack, not helped by a delay in having an ambulance coming to her aid.
I'm saying what Donald Trump is saying, what everybody is thinking. It's as simple as that, you know.
Well, I don't think everybody is thinking it, Porrick, to be honest.
Well, I tell you what,
maybe more and more people are thinking like that.
They're afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say it. I know what's going on in this country. You have all the lefties and all the bleeding hearts, and these people getting first class this and first class that, and the Irish people getting nothing.
A new political party has emerged in Ireland in recent days. It's called the National Party, and it's a far-right anti-immigration party. Probably no surprise then that the party had to abandon its press launch last week. Its leader, Justin Barrett, has already called for a temporary ban on Muslims coming into Ireland. Justin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Niall.
And thanks for joining us on the programme. It's the National Party. We've read all the headlines, dramatic headlines they were, even though your launch was cancelled. What exactly does the National Party or you stand for? Or is it a party which we read about which promotes bigotry and hate directed in particular against our immigrant population?
In the first instance, Niall, I'd just like to say, I'm a pretty nice guy. If you meet me, you'll find that to be the case. And that's why I find your intro a little bit surprising in the sense that...
Why is it surprising?
There's a suggestion there that because we're opposed to mass immigration and because we're opposed to abortion and because we have certain views on protecting the Irish people from Islamic fundamental terrorism.
Convince me then that you're a nice guy. What are your policies? What do you stand for?
No, but that it was perfectly to be expected. And you see, there's something wrong in this country when somebody voices an opinion. And you're quite right. You're quite right in a sense. It is to be expected that if somebody says something that isn't with the PC leftist agenda, that they will have their meeting cancelled, that they will be abused in the press, that they will have the world fall in on them, as it were, in terms of the liberal left, in terms of the political consensus. And there's something wrong with that. That's a basic fact. There's something wrong with the fact that it is taken as normal that a meeting should be cancelled simply because the liberal left don't agree with it.
Okay, well, I think it was the hotel itself who cancelled the event. Nothing to do with the liberal left.
The hotel gave several reasons, multiple reasons at this point for why they cancelled. I'm unable to ascertain exactly why.
All right, leaving that aside. Okay, look, arguably you've got more publicity as a result of your launch being cancelled and the hotel cancelling the booking itself. But the original question, what does the National Party stand for? What do you stand for?
What does the National Party stand for? The National Party stands for the first time, the first political party in Ireland not to bow to the liberal left consensus, to stand up for the Irish people, whether it be in the context of the European Union or whether it be in the context of mass immigration or whether it be in the context of any international forum, and putting, Ireland is a very small country, relatively speaking. We're never going to conquer the world, or we're never going to attempt to do so. And this is our home. This little island is all we have. And we can't have a situation in which we invite the entire world to come and live here and pretend that Ireland will either stay the same or even be Irish.
All right, so are you completely against all immigrants coming in, or is it a certain percentage you want in, or are there a particular type of immigrants that you don't want in Ireland?
The National Party espouses is the view that we should have a Canadian-style or an Australian-style point system where we take in immigrants based on their ability to contribute to the Irish economy, skills and abilities that Irish people don't have or are in short supply within our own economy. and that we take in immigrants based on a numbers system, which is essentially saying, yes, people are welcome here in certain numbers, but at a certain point, integration of people, assimilation of people becomes absolutely impossible. And we have reached well beyond that point now, 2004 to 2016.
You think there are too many immigrants in Ireland already coming into Ireland?
Well, I'll just tell you, in the time period 2004, 2016, now I made the prediction in 2004 that we would that the open door immigration policy, when I stood for the European Parliament, the open door immigration policy that we were operating would lead to massive immigration into this country. And at the time, I was told, nonsense. Yeah. There won't be there'll hardly be any. Well, that's fine, except they're wrong.
Well, how are they wrong?
830,000 people came to Ireland.
That's not true, Justin, and you know it. And you know it because since you made this claim on national radio, a number of media organisations have gone to fact check to check this out. And they are saying that your figure of 840,000 is 5 times more than the actual figure, that the actual accurate figure is 170,000.
Well, first of all, I'd ask those people to listen to what I actually said. And for your listeners out there in the area in which your radio station reaches, to ask themselves, does that make sense to you? Do you think that there are only 192,000 immigrants?
Well, do you think there are 840,000 immigrants since 2004?
That's not fact checking. I do understand that. That's not fact checking. I'm just asking people is that their daily experience? Do they think that the immigration rate is that low, that there's hardly any?
All right. Well, getting back to the
specifically to the figures.
All right. Well, getting back to the point system.
The fact check that you're talking about, decided to imply that I had said on the Matt Cooper show that I was referring in the 830,000 to the accession countries only. The accession countries only. That would be when the EU went from 15 members to 28. And the figure the CSO comes up with for that is 292,000, which is roughly 1/3 more than what you've just said there now. But it's still much higher.
Okay, I want to get back to
what I actually said, and this is, you can't fact check somebody if you don't actually listen to what they've originally said. What I said was the open door policy would lead to massive migration into Ireland.
Okay, well, talking about fact checking, let's get back to what you've said, or maybe you didn't say. You were quoted as saying that there should be a temporary ban on Muslims entering Ireland. Do you stand by that? Well, why do you think that? How can you come up with a statement like that? For what reason?
Because of the experience of pretty much every country in the world at this stage, which has a significant Muslim population. We don't want to expose ourselves to a Paris or Nice-style attack. We don't want to expose ourselves to a 9/11. We don't want to expose ourselves to the horrors that have been visited on Spain and indeed London in the London Underground bombing.
All right, but you will remember, and well, I hope you're old enough to remember when the IRA were bombing Britain over many, many years in the name of Irish freedom. I don't remember any politician, maybe there were one or two, I don't remember any politician coming out and demanding that all UK residents of Irish nationality be banned from Britain.
Well, you'd have to ask a Sinn Féin spokesperson about Irish terrorism.
How would you have felt if a politician had come on and said that and wanted
that there should be a proper
that all Irish should be banned from Britain, that your friends and your family should be asked to remove themselves from Britain because of what the IRA were doing in their name?
What the National Party has said is that there should be a temporary ban on Muslim immigration until we get a handle on the situation with the Muslim population.
Should there have been a temporary ban on the Irish in Britain during the IRA bombing campaign?
It wasn't necessary because the British police, from the very beginning of the IRA terrorist campaign, operated a strict vetting process on all people within the country and had a very good handle, relatively speaking, on who was dangerous and who was not. within their own country.
Okay, so
but on Garda Síochána, unfortunately, and it's not on Garda Síochána's fault. The Garda Racial to Culture and Diversity Office, for example, has 4 guards working in it, 3 ordinary guards.
All right, so you need.
So
you're saying you need to get a handle on all Muslims. Is that it? You need
we
to
need
decide
to get a handle on the situation within the country already.
Okay, well, what about as we know, the Muslim community, and there are Muslims in every role in Irish society, and indeed some of our most talented doctors and medical professionals are of the Muslim faith. And as one listener pointed out when they heard you were coming on this morning, in those cases, Muslims are healing us. They're not hurting us. Yet you want to hurt them. You want to hurt them by sending them back to their own country. How does that make sense?
No, I certainly don't want to hurt anybody. The people that you're talking about would, in my view, is obviously any vetting process that they would be put through, they would clearly pass that vetting process. But that vetting process has not taken place yet, and should have taken place before we had the mass immigration that we have. But what we have to do now, and I'm afraid we're playing catch up on this, is what we have to do now is we have to look at the population that's already here, and we have to see what the problems are. And we saw a primetime special on this particular issue not too very long ago, in which we see that there was a significant problem with the activities of the extreme Islamic group, the Muslim Brotherhood in this country, and particularly surrounding the Clonskeagh Mosque. But on Garda Síochána, are not sufficiently resourced to deal with it.
All right. Well, of course, the Nazism tag has been thrown at you over many years, and the groups you're involved in. The Nazi Party were the National Socialist Democratic Party. You're the National Party. Is there any similarity at all, or would you like
I think there's a key word there in the other party's title that is important, is socialist. The National Party is not socialist, nor would it ever be socialist. We are a mainstream right-wing party, unlike any party that we've ever really had in this country, is somebody who speaks for free enterprise, speaks for the Irish people, speaks for a constitutional republic founded on individual personal freedoms, rights and responsibilities. In fact, we reject totalitarianism in all its forms. Whether it comes from the right or whether it comes from the left.
Right, but you have attended rallies, have you not, held by extreme right-wing parties like the NDP, which is linked with the Nazi Party?
I've attended meetings of all kinds of people over the years, abroad as well as at home. And unfortunately, you can't always check sufficiently who you are speaking to. But so it would perhaps be better if I was a little bit more careful to whom I spoke. But I'm not responsible, nor are you, Niall. I imagine most of your callers afterwards, and they'll have various opinions on what I have had to say.
Yeah, there are various opinions coming in already.
But I tell you, one of the things they will not say is that Niall Boylan was talking to Justin Barrett, therefore Niall Boylan shares Justin Barrett's views on everything. Okay. Now, I've spoken to a lot of people. I don't necessarily share the views of the people I've spoken to.
Is there support for a party like yours out there, Justin? People are wondering, why is the National Party raising its head at this time? You've been out of the public eye for a number of years. Where are the signs, the indications? Where are the polls that suggest that there's a place for the National Party in Irish politics?
Well, I'm not interested in opinion polls. They call the Trump election wrong. They call Brexit wrong. They call a lot of things. At this stage, I don't think opinion polling is anything other than completely discredited. So I don't care about that in a sense. Where is the support coming from? Was it there in 2004?
Do you have some? Well, it wasn't, as you know, in 2000.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Was it there in 2004? No, it wasn't, because it was not a message that the Irish people wanted to hear at the height of the Celtic Tiger, when everything was going fine, the economy was booming, everybody seemed to be making a lot of money, and everything seemed to be hunky-dory. My message at that time, just as an independent candidate, seemed to be somewhat of a doomsday message. Now,
so have we changed that much? Do you think in those 12 12 odd years.
We have, and indeed so have I. We have all, I think, in those 12 years matured in and evolved in our views and realised that maybe things weren't so all right after all in 2004.
Okay. So there is a platform for an extreme right-wing party.
We're not an extreme right-wing party.
Well, I think you said far right, extreme right, whatever.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I said a right-wing party.
All right, okay.
I would never say.
Would an anti-immigration platform? Where do you stand on the role of women in our society? Because we got a listener asking about that as well.
Yeah, I find this baffling because again, no more than President Trump, President-elect Trump I have been accused out of nowhere of misogyny. I don't understand that. I don't understand where it comes from. I think it's just one of those.
Well, I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from an address you gave to an Oireachtas committee some years ago in relation to women. You were asked if you believed that a woman's place was in the home, and to quote you, you said, "It is unquestionable the case that women are much better at minding children than men. In that sense, women are superior."
Yeah.
Is that all they're good for then, minding children in the home?
No, you have to quote the preceding paragraph in which I said that women were more than capable, with the exception perhaps of heavy manual labour. That's the only exception that I made. More than capable of competing in the workplace, in the normal economy, on an equal basis with men. But that there was a standout issue where they were, generally speaking, and this is not an absolute fact, I don't want to be insulting to the single fathers out there who do a tremendous job, but that as a generality, that women were superior with minding children. So the only difference that I could find between men and women was that in one particular instance they were superior, and somehow that's an anti-woman view.
Okay,
that's not to push women into the home or say that they
lot of opinions coming on and a lot of support for you, I have to say, Justin, this morning. 0719111 8104 is our number if you want to call us, or you can text on 083 3500 530. I'm just curious, Justin, from what you said and what you stand for and your party stand for, from a personal point of view, when you see the bodies of young children washed up on European beaches, trying to flee their homes in war-torn Syria. When you see desperate families being torn apart and drowning in the sea in vain attempts to escape to a better life, do you have any empathy at all for that situation on a human level?
Yeah, Niall, it is a sickening situation, and something that where nobody has the right to be proud of, or I don't think anybody would disagree with you there that our hearts go out to those people. But we have to ask ourselves, what in the first instance caused it? And it was Western intervention to overthrow the Bashar al-Assad government, the lawful government of Syria, that started the problem. That started the problem by funding Islamic fundamentalist extremists to overthrow that secular government. That was the start of the problem. And now the second part of the problem is that there is a belief that if you get to Europe and you have a 95% chance of getting to Europe on whatever will float, essentially, you have a 95% chance of getting to Europe. And if you get to Europe, Europe will take you in and you will have a much better life as a consequence. If Europe operated a safe zone policy in Libya, in Syria, where they, instead of sending bombers and instead of blowing up things in the Middle East, instead of killing people in Libya as they did, if they operated a policy of creating safe zones and militarily protecting those safe zones so that refugees could go there for their safety, then people wouldn't take the enormous risks that they do take in crossing the Mediterranean. Okay. And that is something that we should, the European Union in particular, should look into doing.
Okay, I want to ask you a final question, Justin. Maybe it's an unfair one. Do you have children? Do you mind me asking? Are you married? Do you have children, or?
I do have children. I don't like to talk about.
Okay, well, no, it's just a question because I'm just wondering what assuming that your children are in a classroom with immigrant children and Muslims in this case, as we've talked about. What do you tell your children? Do you tell your children that their school friends of the Muslim faith, that they don't deserve to be living in this country and going to school with them? They deserve to be expelled until we find out more about them. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with telling your children?
That's a fair enough question. No, I don't tell that to my children, and I wouldn't tell that to my children. And some of them aren't old enough to go to school yet, so it is. But I would never tell them that. There's not the idea that I have some blanket view, that I have the problem is the Liberals have the blanket view. The problem is that the Liberals have the blanket view that everybody coming in here is fine, that there's no problem with anybody who comes in here. Now, I take the other view, which is this, is that there might be a problem with some people coming in here. And we need to get a handle on it. And in that sense, the Gardaí need to be much, much more resourced to get on top of the situation, just as the British police, as you mentioned before, just as the British police were resourced to deal with the IRA threat. And when we have that kind of a situation, then we will know, we will have the proper vetting procedures on people who come in here. And we will. This is not a discriminatory policy, or if it's discriminatory against terrorists. It's discriminatory against welfare tourists. It's discriminatory against people who come here to take advantage of our country and take advantage of our open door policy. But it's not discriminatory towards people who go through the proper process of getting visas and coming to live here and to assimilate with the Irish population from Eastern Europe or anywhere else.
Local elections a couple of years ago away, Justin, is that something you'd be looking towards as a party or not? Are you looking for candidates to run in local elections in various areas or not?
Well, we certainly, like as a political party, we're certainly looking at the idea of running in elections when the time is right. Whether the time will be right in 2 years' time, because we have only just started, and we are at the moment involved basically in recruiting members of the party. And there will be public meetings around the country, and I hope there will be public meetings in Sligo and Donegal and Leitrim that people out there, and again, when they, as I said at the top of the interview, where they can find out that I'm really not just such a bad guy after all. I'm really quite a nice person to meet, apart from the fact that I have the right ideas, or rather the National Party have the right ideas on the future development of this country economically, socially and otherwise.
All right, okay. All right.
But candidates, sometime. We'll run them to win. We don't run candidates to lose. Okay. And when the time is right, we will definitely be taking part in elections.